So, hi Praful,
Hi, Kenny.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm also good. So far we've been looking at JavaScript, and today I was just thinking we could just take a look at Kotlin, which is uh, which is a JVM language, which is similar to Java, but not so similar to Java. And I think you have some experience working with Java as well as some experience in Kotlin.
Yeah, mostly Java, but Kotlin also I like it. Just play around a bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I am just starting to learn Kotlin, and I don't really have much of a background in Java. But since we are working on Android app development right now, I have to learn Kotlin. So that is why I just started with this simple topic here. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So the topic that we are talking right now is a data class that is available in Kotlin. So I will have to ask you the main question. So um, what does all of this mean in Java? Like we are having this final class user with a name designation, and we have a lot of functions like get name, get designation, and I can see a constructor and some more code here. So hash code equals. So is there something that you can talk about this?
Yeah, this is like mostly a POJO component, very popularly known as POJO component,
Hmm.
plain Java object or something like that full form.
Hmm.
So here we define a data model, which is the
Okay.
data model, like for example, user, address, or order, or anything we can define.
Hmm.
And the first thing we can define the attributes of it.
Hmm.
So the attributes here, for example, in user we have name and designation. And just for security purpose or not to modify accidentally, we always define that as a private.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Okay.
we write the getter methods, which will just return that same field. And we write the setter method, which set those fields. So directly also it is possible to get and set, but to avoid some side effects, we usually provide a dedicated getter and setter method. So it would be easier to, control who can get access, and we can do some data validation, and we can restrict whom we want to give set access, whom we want to get access.
Okay.
So that is the reason it become lengthy, and many people doesn't like this, how this code is getting too much.
Got it. Yeah. So coming to this copy and hash code and equals, do you have any thoughts on that? And toString also here.
Yeah, starting with the toString, like whenever you want to print using the system.out, if you try to print it, right? If you don't specify this toString method, it will just print some gibberish, like the address of that particular string or the object.
Okay.
But if you provide a string representation, so it will print this kind of beautiful way.
Okay, it will include the values correctly and okay, give a readable representation.
Yeah, in a meaningful format. But if you doesn't have that, if you rely on the toString, already it is available in object, so it will print that object address.
Okay, okay, got it. So these are like commonly used in Java. These are all.
Hash code, equals, and copy are not very commonly used. Nobody implement that. Most of the tool driven, and no need to implement. They have different significance. I think we can skip it for the timing.
Okay.
But they will do for serialization, deserialization, and object comparison. Those methods will be helpful.
Okay, okay, got it. So coming from that to this, what do you think? So Kotlin is giving us a smaller syntax for all this code.
Yeah, Kotlin is nowadays it is gaining popularity because the main disadvantage of Java is like how verbose it is, and we have to write lots of written of the code. And recently there is one more library is quite famous in the Java land, that is Lombok.
Okay.
That is also automatically annotation driven and generating this kind of setter and getter for us. So it is not very similar to Kotlin, but maybe Kotlin is inspired by that. There are certain kind of overlap between that because setter and getter and all this thing will generated by Kotlin and constructor as well.
Okay, yeah, got it. So even in your latest Java code, you won't have to write all of these things, is what you say.
Yeah, the setter, getter, has code, constructor you know to write. You just have to write string name and designation, and you have to put some annotation.
Okay, okay. So then like we can just try running this code.
Yeah.
So
Before
here
that,
I
can you
have
explain about this data and val? What does that stand for? And can this look a little bit
the
different?
data class.
Yeah, why data? Because data, there is no concept of data in Java.
So what I understand so far is that you can have normal classes, and this is a normal class first Kotlin file. And a data class is essentially like you were saying that Pojo kind of a thing, where this is all that you're writing about it. It's just like a container to hold some data and be able to transmit the data. Like you're saying, we are able to get all of these helper methods automatically. And what I understand so far is that there might not be many functions that are, we are including as methods in that class, right? Only mostly it's for storing data. Is that what you understand?
Yes, yes. So in the Kotlin, don't you have the concept of private, public, and protected access identifier? Do you have those kind of concept or?
Yes, we do. And I think by default, everything is public or private. I'm not sure. I forgot it right now.
Yeah, no problem.
And Java, I think by default, it is private or.
If you hover around designation, what is it is prompting? User and designation. Yeah.
It is saying public finally.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this is by default giving us public, but if we want to make it private, we can just give it a private in front.
Yeah. And I think
And
val is using to define any variable, right? Because in
yeah.
Java, we define this data type before. So here everything is val.
So I think in Java, you would have final, I think is the keyword that you use for constants kind of a thing, right?
Yes.
So in Kotlin, what happens is this val. So Kotlin has val and var. Okay. So if we say my object 2, what that means is that var is like a variable. You're just saying it is a variable which can be changed. But in the case of val, it is a permanent kind of a constant thing, and it will not let you change it afterwards. So maybe we can just try running that. If I do, I'll just change this. So here my obj is just already giving me an error, and it is saying val cannot be reassigned.
Mm-hmm. Both looks very similar, val and var.
Right, just a single character difference. And I'm sure you would also have observed that we are not giving any type information here.
Yes,
We're
yes.
just giving a variable name and just giving a class like, and there is also no new, if you have observed. So there is no new.
Yes, yes.
It's an interesting way that they have done this, that you can provide a value, like whenever you're initializing, it will automatically infer the type. So if we hover over it, it is already saying it is a type user. It already knows that.
Okay.
But if you want to, you can optionally just put that as a colon and then give that type.
Yes.
But it is not actually necessary in this case, because it is IntelliJ is very intelligent actually. So it is telling us it is redundant. So we don't really need to give it. But in a different case where user might be having a var which is not initialized initially, we can give it like a data type, and then we will be making sure that later on, if we are assigning something to it, it will be of same data type.
Okay. And what a couple of component in the line number 4, I can see companion object. What does that represent? I'd never seen in the Java world.
True. So what I understand so far is in Java, we have this concept of static methods or static variables, right? Which
Hmm.
are associated with that class and not with that object, right?
Hmm.
So this companion object is a similar concept, although not exactly the same. In Kotlin, what happens is this is essentially an inner class, and Kotlin in the background will create a single instance of the object for that class. And that acts like a member variable, which is inside this class. That is a little complicated. Maybe we should dive a little more into it at a later point. I don't think it will be immediately obvious what is happening. Maybe we can show the decompiled version and or maybe in the future video,
Okay,
and that
sounds
will be
good.
more clear.
What is
Yeah.
about JVM static? You have any pointer on that?
Yeah, so this also, so I was mentioning about the companion object. It is creating an entirely new object within that class. But for Java to be able to run this as a public static void main, we are giving this annotation so that it will also provide a copy of a static method, which will internally call this companion object method. I'm sure that is a little confusing, but it is just like a uh, semantic thing for Java to be able to find that function. I'll
Okay,
we
just
can
to
we can
start with, we
discuss
should just copy paste it and forget about it.
for now. That is the best way. I think we will have to elaborate on it later because it is a little tricky. But if you see how it works, I think it will make sense, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so do you want me to like run this?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I'll just put my object 2 also. So so here we can see that output, and you are saying about the toString especially, right? So here by just giving a data class, that toString and all is already generated, and when we are printing it, and println is also different, right? System.out is not there. It is just println in Kotlin. So it is actually printing that class and the member variables in that.
Okay, okay. And a couple of things I
So
noticed, the file name you have given like .kt extension. What does that .kt extension stands for?
yeah, so just like Java file has a .java extension, for Kotlin, the standard extension that we use is .kt.
Okay, okay. So only IntelliJ we can run, or in Eclipse also we can run and VS Code?
I think we should be able to run this on any IDE, because end of the day it is using the Java executable, right? So we will just need to figure out how to compile the Kotlin code and also to run the Kotlin code. So I don't think that will be a issue. Although IntelliJ provides a very nice environment for us to use, and it is also free.
And this Kotlin programming language is developed mostly by IntelliJ team, right?
Yeah, so the team behind IntelliJ, they have been working on IDEs for a long time right now, and I think Java was their main language of choice. And from their side itself, they internally felt like there was a way to make this better, and they have developed it. And I think they are rewriting their IntelliJ to be running on Kotlin, and as well I think Android. So I think sometime in 2014 or 16, they have officially adopted Kotlin as the main programming language for Android development. So it is supported by Google also.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Hope we will learn more in coming days.
Yeah, let's see what all, like already we have companion object that we can talk about. And as I'm learning, I think I will just note down the different crazy new syntaxes that I'm seeing. And Kotlin has a few things that you look and what is this happening? And for me, first impression, or when I was starting out, I felt it was a funny language. That was my first impression, and I think as we go along, we will see many of these funny syntax. But it definitely adds a lot in terms of readability, because you don't have to write so much code, and it gives a more concise way of looking at things. So I think it is definitely useful in that sense.
A couple of things I notice here in the user, there is no curly bracket. Data class user, you given like a small tiny bracket.
Yeah. So actually, if I'm like unformatting it, this will be like so constructor and everything is done already. We don't need to like give the curly, but we can give the curly bracket also, and I think we can give functions also inside this. Um, this is also probably alien syntax to Java developers, but this is basically you can create a function which will directly return a string value. So there also you don't need curly brackets, but if you want to, you can always write it in that old way and say return hello, and that is giving us an error because we have to specify the return type as string.
And in the designation, you given a question mark after string. What does that mean?
Yeah, so essentially what the question mark is that it is an optional value. So I'll just remove this. So it is just considered as an optional value and there won't be an error. That's what I think. Yes, yes. Or is there an error? Let me just see. Okay, something is happening. No value passed to parameter designation. So what I've understood is that, okay, this can be a nullable value. Then. Maybe if I pass null. Yeah, so I suppose that it is saying that this string can be a nullable string. So designation value can be null is what it is saying. But if we don't have this question mark, I am assuming that it will throw an error. Yeah, it is telling that null cannot be passed because it is a non-null type of string.
This is a bit different than like TypeScript world, because TypeScript, if you this question mark means is optional, but if you don't pass anything also, it should be fine.
I think that is what I was also thinking in my head. But now, yeah, this makes sense. So it is saying that it can be null or so usually you don't want to do this. Ideally, I mean, in Java, I think the biggest problem that people faced was something with null or something. I don't really understand that. If you have any thoughts on that about null.
Yeah, like undefined we don't have. We have null. Like null pointer exception people get usually.
Huh.
So that is like undefined issue in JavaScript world. So null, I think if you define a value and doesn't assign anything, its value is usually null.
So we cannot do any operations on that object later, right?
Yes,
because
yes.
it is null. Okay, so this is saying that designation can be null, but then if we are doing that way, then we will have to consider that in the rest of our code. We have to check if it is null, then only then we can do the other operations, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is about it about the data class for this video. Any thoughts, Praful?
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. It is very interesting. And the Kotlin code looks very promising and simpler. Hope we'll learn together more about Kotlin in coming days.
Yeah, definitely. And I've also seen an option that we can compile Kotlin to JavaScript. So that is also another thing that we can probably look at in the future. But yeah, all promising.
Yes, yes, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye, Praful.
Bye-bye.